So Chad, speaking of, like I said, Saints and Niners, we'll move on to your Niners.
Mm-hmm.
I assume for your top 4 Niners games, you have the Saints game in there. So, or do the Saints game rank for your Niners top 4?
You know, it's an interesting schedule. The problem I have with this schedule is, you know, I don't know that there's anything you can do about it. I mean, the second and third games of the season are both in New York. That's you know,
is that a bad or good thing? That's like a vacation, right?
That's great. You can see some Broadway plays.
Exactly.
Jimmy G
but it's early in
young actresses. It'll be wonderful for the team.
Well, here's all I'm saying. It's early in the season. It's the second and third game. We open with Arizona, which played us strong and hard last season. That's not an easy game. Then we go Jets and Giants back to back. But do you want to stay in New York, the center of the COVID situation? Is that what that's the part that's tricky, is what do you do there? I don't know. I don't know if that's still going to even be an issue at that point, but that's the part that makes it challenging, is if you have to go to New York to play the Jets, or Jersey rather, and then turn around and go home, come back and play the Giants the following week, or can you stay out there? I don't know the logistics of that. So that makes it challenging. That's the only part of it. They should beat both of those teams. They're better than both. That Philly game, that next game at home against Philly, I think Philly is incredibly dangerous. I think they've made a bunch of solid decisions, and if they can keep their quarterback healthy, they're solid. Miami is a team that scares me. Green Bay and Seattle are always, but we got New England. Who knows where they're going to be? There's a lot of games. There's a lot of games.
Chad doesn't know the rules of the game here, guys.
I don't know. There was no rules.
4 games.
There's no rules.
Look, I'll take over here for a second because this is the Niners schedule, right?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, look, I agree with you,
tough.
Chad, that the Eagles appear on a lot of my lists of teams' most important games because the Eagles are a great litmus test. If you can get through the Eagles, you're definitely not a bad team, right? Like, you have a shot. But if you can't get through the Eagles, you need to really readjust. They are the litmus test for the NFL. They're the team most likely to win the playoff spot from the most mediocre division, the most middling division. They are a great litmus test. They have a backup quarterback now that I think Hurts was a great draft pick. I'd have gladly had him on a team I root for. And I think that this is a good setup team. I think that's the first real test for the Niners. I don't think either of those teams will be a stress for a team that was just in the Super Bowl. I don't think the Giants or the Jets are there. I think having them back-to-back in New York when you can stay, and
I
New
hope
York
we can
pass the curve on this. They've had tens of thousands of deaths. I mean, if anybody's going to be fine at that time, if the season launches on time, they will be fine. I think that game is a great litmus test. Packers, another team like the Eagles and the NFC, they are a litmus test. If you don't even have to beat the Packers, but if you can be within one score of them, you're definitely a playoff team, right?
But you go week 7, 8, 9, and 10. You go New England, Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans.
I would argue 6 through 12 because you're bucketed by the Rams on each side too.
Well, the Rams stink.
But
the Rams. I'm more
divisional
concerned about Miami than I am the Rams, to be honest with you. The
know,
week before, Miami is tough.
I think your concern should then be the Saints and the Cowboys in November and December. I think those are games.
Yeah, that Cowboys
I think
game.
the Patriots you can take care of. I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be like. I know Jimmy G knows what the Patriots do. This looks like a good deal to me. I think the Saints and the Cowboys are the other two games determining where you wind up, and if you have the same home field you did last year, which was probably one of the most important reasons for actually making that Super Bowl.
Well, you finish the season. You finish the season. If you look at 12 through 17, you go Rams, Buffalo, Washington, Dallas, Arizona, Seattle. And I'm inclined to believe that Arizona is not going to be completely better. So you have really only 2 patsies in your last 6 games, and that's the Rams and indigenous peoples. Because Buffalo is probably going to win the division. Dallas is going to be improved.
Andy Dalton will be starting by then.
I mean,
in trouble.
This is a terribly difficult schedule for the Niners. This is a hard schedule, and that's the way it's supposed to be. You went to the Super Bowl, so that's what you get. So
they had to make up for this year's pretty easy one.
Yeah, we weren't good the season prior.
Andy Dalton going to be starting by week 15.
And that might be a good thing for the glorified version.
He's going to be the second coming is what he's going to be by the time it's all over. All right. Any game? Chad pretty much
The
went through
Ruby Bazooka.
Chad pretty much went through the whole schedule. So
Yeah, I had to.
any game we missed, guys?
Yeah. I would actually like to, because two of my games are two that actually weren't really mentioned. Chad did grace over them because he did the whole schedule.
Yeah.
But I think for the 49ers, I actually think one of the most important games is going to be, two of them really, and I'll skip around a little bit, but their first game and their last game. Their first game is against the Cardinals. Now, the only reason I say against the Cardinals may be important is because, like Chad said, we don't really know what these Cardinals are. Kyler Murray, we have big expectations, especially Chad. And then with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, they've made some good defensive moves as well, and a lot of their guys on the defensive end are getting better. And you still have Larry Fitzgerald to work that WR2 spot. So these Cardinals may be interesting, and I'm not saying they'll make the playoffs, but they may be a headache. Remember about 10 years ago, the Jeff Fisher Rams? Remember how they never made the playoffs but were always a headache for everybody in that division? I think that may be the Cardinals this year.
Hey, last year the Niners beat them in week 9, 28-25, and in week 12,
exactly.
And in week 11, 36-26. They played them tough both times. There were games that the Cardinals were in all the way.
Yeah.
The first one especially, they should have won the game. So, yes, I agree. I do like Kyler Murray.
And I think he meant Jeff Fisher teams, not Jeff Fisher Rams. Jeff Fisher teams.
True. My bad. Very true. But then, I mean, you look at week 9 and 10 back-to-back Packers and then at Saints. Obviously, we've already spoken about those at length, but those are two very important games. And then I think arguably the most important game on the 49ers' entire season is week 17 versus the Seahawks. The Seahawks are going to be good this year, guys. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Seahawks will be good. How good they are, we don't know yet. But they are going to be a good team. And in week 17, with an expanded playoff bracket on its way, this may be very important for the 49ers.
I agree with that.
What's that?
I totally agree. Every game, all those games with Seattle are huge. And that run in the middle there, and again, New England finished the season last year defensively as one of the top 2 or 3 teams. It's not like that's just because we're going to just think that Stidham isn't going to be able to produce. That's still a tough game right in the middle. New England, Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans, all in a row. That's rough. And to finish with Seattle and Arizona in a row,
you still got to face Belichick. Right?
That's right. That's what I'm saying. This is the reason I go through this whole schedule is because it's pretty brutal.
All right.
You guys kind of have patsy schedules comparatively.
Oh, gee.